Hey everyone, so USCIS has recently updated its policy on expedite requests. An expedite request is a special request that somebody can make to help their immigration case move faster. And as I mentioned, USCIS has recently updated its policy on making expedite requests. So we're going to go over all this news in today's video. So if you're interested in learning about how you could potentially make your immigration case move faster, this is definitely a video that you want to watch, so make sure to stick around. Hi everyone, my name is Michael Ashoori and I'm a U.S. immigration lawyer based in Los Angeles, California. At my law firm, we regularly post videos to make sure that you're up to date with the latest immigration news and immigration tips. So if you haven't yet subscribed to our YouTube channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button now. So as I mentioned, in today's video, we're going to talk about an update that USCIS has recently made regarding making expedite requests. So just to give you some background information, there are various ways that somebody can go about making their immigration case process faster. One of those ways is by making an expedite request with USCIS. An expedite request is basically a special request that you make with USCIS to say, hey, I need my case to process faster based on these reasons. Now, USCIS can grant expedited processing on a case-by-case basis, but not every single reason that someone might have for expediting their case will be approved by USCIS. Rather, USCIS has a list of different criteria that if one of those criteria is present, they may consider granting your request for expedited processing. Well, USCIS has recently updated its policy on expedite requests. And what's interesting is that USCIS gave us 5 specific reasons why it will consider expediting a case. And interestingly, it provided some examples of scenarios that may potentially qualify for expedited processing. So I put together a brief presentation. So take a look at my screen and we'll go through this together. Hey everybody, so let's get started. As you can see, we're going to go over some USCIS expedite criteria. These are some reasons why USCIS may potentially consider expediting your immigration case. So let's get started with the first one. And the first one is severe financial loss to a company or person, provided that the need for urgent action is not the result of the petitioner's or applicant's failure to timely file the benefit request or to timely respond to any requests for additional evidence. So again, this reason that USCIS may consider expediting a case is to avoid severe financial loss to a company or person. Let's move on to criteria number 2. Now, criteria number 2, why USCIS may consider expediting a case, is emergencies and urgent humanitarian reasons. The third reason is nonprofit organizations whose request is in furtherance of the cultural or social interests of the United States. And the fourth criteria is U.S. government interests, including cases identified as urgent by federal agencies such as the U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. Department of Labor, National Labor Relations Board, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the U.S. Department of Justice, the U.S. Department of State, Department of Homeland Security, or other public safety or national security interests. And another basis why USCIS may consider expediting a case is if there was clear USCIS error. So again, those were the reasons why USCIS may consider expediting a case. Now, in addition to explaining the actual reasons why USCIS may consider expediting a case, in its latest update, USCIS gave some examples of valid reasons for making an expedite request. So I went ahead and I actually took those examples from the policy manual and put them on this PowerPoint, and we're going to go over the examples listed by USCIS. So let's get started. So we're going to go back to that one of those early criteria that we discussed, which is severe financial loss as a basis for expedited treatment. So again, as we discussed, USCIS can expedite a case if there's a risk of severe financial loss to a company or a person. Now, here's an example, and here's some additional information that USCIS provided us with. And they say, a company can demonstrate that it would suffer a severe financial loss if it is at risk of failing, losing a critical contract, or required to lay off other employees. For example, a medical office may suffer severe financial loss if a gap in a doctor's employment authorization would require the medical practice to lay off its medical assistants. Job loss may be sufficient to establish severe financial loss for a person depending on the individual circumstances. For example, the inability to travel for work that would result in job loss might warrant expedited treatment. The need to obtain employment authorization standing alone without evidence of other compelling factors does not warrant expedited treatment. In addition, severe financial loss may also be established where failure to expedite would result in a loss of critical public benefits or services. So there's a lot of information here, but very interestingly at the top, what we just discussed at the top of this slide, a company can demonstrate that it would suffer severe financial loss if it can show that the lack of getting the case expedited may result in the company having to lay off employees. And it gave that example of a medical office that would have to lay off medical assistants if the doctor's employment authorization would lapse. So as you can see, USCIS is giving us some concrete examples. And let's move on to one more example. And now this example that we're going to cover is expedited treatment based on emergency or humanitarian reasons. So the first example that we discussed was based on financial loss. Now this reason that we're going to cover is based on emergency or urgent humanitarian reason. So it says here, in the context of an expedite request, humanitarian reasons are those related to human welfare. Examples may include, but are not limited to, illness, disability, extreme living conditions, death in the family, or a critical need to travel to obtain medical treatment in a limited amount of time. An emergency may include an urgent need to expedite employment authorization for healthcare workers during a national emergency, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. Additionally, an expedite request may be considered under this criterion in instances where a vulnerable person's safety may be compromised due to a breach of confidentiality if there is a delay in processing the benefit application. A benefit requester's desire to travel for vacation does not in general meet the definition of an emergency. So here, USCIS is giving us that additional information as to what could potentially qualify as an emergency or urgent humanitarian reason. Again, towards the top here, we see that these are situations that are related to human welfare, such as illness, disability, extreme living conditions, etc. So now let's move on and go over some other important points. So we're just going to cover some additional important points that were covered in the policy manual. So one important point, USCIS generally does not consider expedite requests for petitions and applications where premium processing is available. So premium processing is a service that's available for certain cases where you can pay an additional fee to USCIS and they will process your case in 15 days. So this is an optional service and it's only available for certain types of cases. But what you should know is that generally, if premium processing is available for the type of case that you're filing, then USCIS generally will not consider an expedite request for that type of case. There's a very limited exception to this, but again, generally, if premium processing is available, then USCIS will not consider an expedite request. Second important point that I want to cover is USCIS mentions in the policy manual that to increase efficiency in the review and processing of expedite requests, USCIS does not provide justification or otherwise respond regarding decisions on expedite requests. So when you make a request for expedited processing, USCIS does not have to give you a lengthy explanation as to why they either approved your request or denied your request for expedited processing. As you can see here, that's to increase the efficiency in the review and the processing of these requests. Because as you can imagine, USCIS gets very many requests for expedited processing. So there you have it. As you saw in that presentation, in the latest update that USCIS gave us in the policy manual, they specifically delineated the various reasons why USCIS may consider a request for expedited processing, such as a risk of severe financial loss, emergencies or humanitarian reasons, USCIS error, and the other reasons that we went over. And they actually provided us with examples based on those criteria. Now, for purposes of keeping this video to a manageable length, I didn't go over all the different examples and all the specific information that USCIS put on the policy manual, but I invite you to check that out on your own. I'm actually going to link to that section of the policy manual in this video. If you check the description of this video, you should be able to see the actual USCIS website where all that information is contained. I hope you found this video helpful. I hope this gives you a better understanding of what types of cases are eligible for premium processing and what types of situations may warrant a request for expedited processing and a potential grant of expedited processing. So I hope you found this video helpful. As always, if you know anybody that could benefit from this information, please feel free to share this video with them. At our law firm, we're all about empowering you with knowledge, so the more people that can watch this video that can benefit from this information, the better. As always, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next video.